New at 6, a tweak to a transportation bill at the Florida Capitol could rename Tallahassee International Airport after FSU coach Bobby Bowden. Senator Corey Simon suggesting this change this afternoon. It passed the Senate. It now heads to the House for consideration. Speaker of the House, Daniel Perez, is a Florida State University alum. The Senate also passed an amendment that would designate a stretch of College Avenue, downtown Tallahassee, after a beloved FSU president, that being John Thrasher. It would apply to the stretch of road between Monroe and the Florida State campus that's also headed to the House right now.
Yeah, we'll certainly keep you posted.